I'm waiting for my slides. There we go. Have to get my picture off that screen. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for the introduction, and I am delighted to be here today. I want to hear those coffee cups clinking, so I know you're awake. It's kind of dark out there. It's pretty brutal at 7:30 in the morning to be in a dark room, but we're going to do our best here. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you today. I know that there is a lot ahead, and I'm hoping I can launch the day well for you. This is an opportunity for me to share with you the story of GSA's new reality. Inside GSA, we are talking about this as the dog that caught the bus. You all know in those early hours what it's like when the school bus goes down the street and the dog is chasing the bus. Well, we feel as if we've got the bumper of the bus in our jaw. We caught the bus, and I want to tell you about what that's doing to us and how that's impacting us. GSA was started by Harry S. Truman years ago in an attempt to find a way to leverage procurement across the government by finding consolidated buying power within the government. This is a picture of Harry S. Truman that he drew of himself. We believe it is a picture of him signing the bill that created GSA. GSA has been given the interesting business plan, if you will, of doing something, doing everything for everyone, everywhere. Really, a private sector company would kind of cross their eyes with that kind of a business plan, but indeed we do. We service the judiciary, the legislative branch, the executive branch, state and local governments, and our not-for-profit partners such as the American Red Cross. And of course, we deliver a vast range of goods and services and support to them. And since the days of Harry S. Truman, a lot has changed. We are doing a lot of things differently than we did before. But in fact, going forward, there is even more change. It is accelerating. And this is something that I particularly want to focus on today. For years, we've given speeches about how change is coming, change is happening. This time, we really mean it. And I want to explain how that's impacting us at GSA and therefore our government clients. And I can tell you it changed. It changed in June. Changed in June when my phone began to ring. And it's not as if my phone never rings. It usually rings, though, when people are wanting to complain about their HVAC, or they are, tired of their rent bill and they want to fuss about that. These calls were different. They were from secretaries. They were from deputy secretaries. They were from chiefs of staff and heads of bureaus and independent agencies. And they were all saying, Madam Administrator, could we come and see you? And I was delighted with that, but I said, you are our customers. We're happy to come and see you. No. They said, we want to come and see you. We said, fine, this is delightful. Come to my office. Actually, you can't come to my office. I sit in a cubicle, but you can come to the little living room down the way where we entertain our guests. And so they have been coming, and what has been driving them to our living room? It is essentially a budget story, not a surprise to you all, but it is an interesting inflection point. Budgets in the past that we received from Congress often put us on diets. You know how it is. They tell us, cut out the Haagen-Dazs and the Ben & Jerry's and maybe go with the low-fat sugar cookies. And maybe take some of that dressing off the salad. It's a diet. But actually what's happening today is that our stomachs are being stapled. It's a different deal. We're going to lose weight one way or the other. And so we are in a completely different budget environment than we've experienced in decades. And when customers show up in our living room, they are not goofing around. They are in a hurry. They are very anxious about the fact that they need to find new resources for programming. And guess what? GSA might be a way of helping to figure out that equation. Indeed, we feel as if we have caught the bus. The customers are in our living room, and they have incredibly large demands on us, and they need us. What a wonderful place to be. However, there are two kinds of leaders that are showing up in that living room. Let me describe them briefly. The first kind of leader is in absolute panic. It is a leader who is really terrified about what is happening to program and to mission as a result of budget cuts. This is serious business. And we at GSA completely empathize I do find at times I need a big turtleneck sweater myself. Our major construction and renovation budgets were cut last year 90%. That's 90, not 19. And this year it looks as if they will be zeroed out. There are no new buildings that are going to be built. None. It's a different time, and I can appreciate that sheer terror that leaders are experiencing in the face of these budget cuts. But another kind of leader is showing up, and that is offering us a real opportunity. These are people who are saying, you know, this is a brutal moment, but it is a moment for judo. There must be completely new ways we can go about what we need to do. And this is a moment in order that we should be investigating these, and we need your truly creative and innovative help. So there's this notion that we might be able to judo past long-standing stuck issues and problems simply because the reality is different. It does focus the mind. And so with that, we are in this really interesting moment in which we need to respond to customers across the government caught in tremendously difficult circumstances. There are two ways that GSA responds, and I want to take you through both of those so that you can understand how we are thinking about servicing our customers, relating with our industry partners, and generally fulfilling our mission. The first one is, there are two roles that I want to talk about. The first one is our orchestration role. We do sit at a place where we see the entire government, the entire set of circumstances, and it puts us in a nice orchestrating position. We have a whole orchestra out there to conduct. What is happening is, first of all, we offer a whole circle of services, and we can help an agency or an organization stop and say, all right, how can we play with this multiplicity of opportunity here? For example, they walk in the door and they say, we need our rent cut. And we say, well, actually, they're market rates, and, you know, we can't really affect the market that much. There might be a time lag, but we are charging you market rates. However, you could think about cutting your actual footprint so you wouldn't have to pay so much rent for the amount of space you need. And if you want to do that, you're going to need some money. So maybe you need to look at how you're spending money on travel, perhaps how you're spending money in procurement, how you're spending your resources in your fleet. Are you managing your fleet as effectively as you can? Where can we, you know, move around the circle of work that could be done in order to free up resources and use them strategically? This is really portfolio management. This is strategic resource management, strategic asset management. And we are in a position where, with all of the offerings that we have, we can help you think about that strategically. So that's one of the positions, that's one of the orchestrating positions that we have. The second is we have data. We have lots of data. We have the evil eye of data, and we can help you ferret out solutions. I mean, we manage 10 million trips a year. I think there might be ways in which we could tease out efficiencies and perhaps even changes of behaviors that could save you boatloads of money as a government agency. And we have that data. We have data on fleet management. Do you manage your vehicles in the most efficient manner? Do all those vehicles need to be loaded up with all of that security equipment? How are you thinking about the fleet as a source of potential savings? And we have that data, and we can help you focus in on the true story behind how your assets are being handled. To give you one example of the ways we're responding to this is also important, and you've all heard of the Federal Strategic Sourcing Initiative, but it is a way in which we are orchestrating agencies to sit down together, look at a commodity, look at a kind of buying that they need, and then as a collective make some commitments about how much they want to procure of this commodity, and then we can go to the market and orchestrate a buy that helps industry by having some certainty under it and some commitment to volume, and helps the agencies realize better pricing. This is not the old GSA that was the mandated monopoly that commanded, as in Harry S. Truman's dream, a government-wide purchase. But this is a collective purchase that has a lot of the aspects of that kind of efficiency and economies of scale. And it is exactly the kind of thing we need to be doing for our customers. So orchestration is one of the roles that we play, both orchestrating our customers to work together, orchestrating their whole set of notions of where they can find resources. And this is putting us in a position of facilitation, of consulting, of data analysis. These are our sweet spots, and we are really earnest in being able to move ahead with you on playing out that role. The second role is the really fun one, and that is the role with the capstone phrase, GSA goes first. We are really proud of our innovative DNA, and we want to be above the fold telling you about that and parading that, because it is important for us to continue in that vein. This goes all the way back to, I like to talk about our Design Excellence program, which is well into 2 decades of performance. When we went out and decided that our buildings deserved internationally acclaimed design, and we found those architects and put them to work on our federal buildings. It was continued then with our early embrace of the internet, putting our schedules online, setting up firstgov.gov, all the kinds of things we did in the 90s to really spur our innovative muscles, build our innovative muscles. And I want to go into a little bit of what we've done recently to confirm for you that GSA does go first. We see it actually as a role that we need to play. Large agencies can only take on so much risk. We need to try things out for them so that they can then step into that river of possibility without risking quite as much. We can be more nimble, and we can spread the word about that performance across the government more easily. So a couple of arenas of innovation I want to talk to you about. First of all is, of course, workspace. Notice I don't say workplace. We're not just about real estate anymore. We're about workspace, where you work and how you work as a government worker. We are about developing models of future workspaces. And this is not new. We've been doing, the government's been doing this for years. And of course, the future workspace is a lot about carrying it with you and going to unusual places. And we're trying to model that and develop ideas and steering federal workers in those directions so that they can truly become more productive and not so chained to their desks. Let me first talk about, workspace. I want to talk a little bit about our federal buildings because they are smart buildings. And we are more and more intensely gathering micro data inside our smart buildings so that we can understand how they are performing. This is the San Francisco Federal Building. If you drive from the airport up to San Francisco, you can see it directly to the left of the freeway. It's an unusual building. It's a very special building. And it is designed with a lot of smart building technology in it so that we can watch the microclimates in it. Really, think about it. A building every morning opens its doors, and in walks hundreds of little heaters. And they walk all over the building. And they work in conference rooms, and they eat their lunch, and they leave, and they come back. We cannot manage that building with one toggle switch. We need to manage it in a micro, smart way. And when we are managing in a micro system like that, in a smart building like that, we are saving approximately $1 per square foot of just energy use because we are able to adjust in a more precise way. The smart buildings are also encouraging and helping us with tenant behavior. As you IT people know, it is not just about technology. It's about the culture and the behaviors surrounding that technology. In this case, we have some very interesting tenant behaviors and policies in place at the San Francisco Federal Building. The most fun one, of course, is that they have hot days. These are like snow days in Washington. If it gets too hot, people can stay home because there's no air conditioning in this building. We did not put air conditioning into it. Of course, it's San Francisco, so, you know, we weren't running a huge risk there, but it means that on the few days that it really is unbearable, they call a hot day rather than a snow day. But we are not going to have new buildings anymore, and we need to understand how to retrofit our current stock so that it is efficient and inviting. And this is the National Building Museum in Washington, an example of another building that is being turned into a smart building. I think it's interesting because the interior is so unlike some of the other buildings that we work with. You all have been there and seen it. But we can, with smart technology, understand what's going on in that building and adjust energy use for it. In addition, we have currently engaged in what we call the Green Proving Ground, which is a way in which we're taking a number of technologies and testing them in our buildings across the United States. One of the technologies that we're building is a Fast 50, we're calling it, is 50 smart buildings wired together so that we can have and harvest data from across 50 buildings and genuinely understand what the performance is and where we can find efficiencies and savings. These are good stories for our customers. They need to understand what's possible in a building. But what I would like to also talk about are some of the other things GSA is trumpeting around Workspace. Workspace is, of course, and this is a focus for this conference, is edging quickly towards a mobile workforce. Now, truth be told, we're already a mobile workforce. Everyone here is mobile working, if you will. There's a lot of mobile working going on, and we're sort of catching up. The important thing to understand, first of all, is that GSA buildings are about 22% more efficient than the private sector counterparts. We already have played this game well, and we know how efficient buildings are. At the same token, our mobile workforce is already well down the road of being mobile, and we need to kind of catch up to it. If you put a turnstile in a building, you will discover that less than half the people assigned to that building are there at any given time. Now, if Michelle Obama visits the building, maybe you'll get 80%. But usually it's in the 40s, and on Monday and Fridays it tends to be in the 30s. We do this on our own building. This is not unusual. It means that we are way overbuilt because we are giving square footage designated to a person, even if the person is barely there 35–40% of the time. Just think about that. And that is because of our long-standing behaviors around designating space and having private offices and so on. So mobile work is both about the technology that you are all providing. It is also about how we view work and how we view our space and how we share. We moved into the cloud for our email in June as a way of going early into the cloud to show that that is another aspect of mobile working that's going to be important. We need to have our data available anytime, anywhere, and securely. And we have demonstrated that that is a really doable thing. We also flipped the switch over a weekend to show that you can go quickly once you've set it up. It's not a big, long, laborious process. It is a fast, laborious process. And we're really very, very happy with it. It's opened up a lot of doors, and I think it's also given encouragement to others in the government that this is a good option and something that they should explore energetically. And I can't leave the workspace discussion without a quick reference to our 1800 F Street headquarters in Washington. For those of you in Washington who have been driving down E Street, you have noticed that building is being redone. And there used to be 2,000 people in that building. When we move back into the renovated building, we will have 4,500 people in that building. Unfortunately, we're not going to get all the money. We are also in this budget crisis. We're not going to be able to finish the building completely, but there will be a big chunk of it that will be new space, and therefore we can absorb over twice as many people into that building. But again, this is not about squishing people into the place. It's about giving people the capability to be mobile workers, to hot desk, to sign up and be there with their group when they are there, and also work elsewhere with customers at conferences, at home, at the Starbucks, as they are doing now, and we can then claim the space back. This means we're collapsing all our leases that GSA people are, at least space that GSA people are in across the Washington area, and we are moving explicitly into our owned real estate. Huge money savings. So that's the workspace. And now let me move to the world of resource stewardship. GSA really believes that we need to go first on environmental stewardship, because if we don't, the rest of the government really can't. If we are one of the spigots for the consumption of the government, if we don't have a big green hat on our head, the government really has to struggle to find its way to environmental options. So we believe we need to be aggressive, and I believe we are. It's such an interesting process. A year and a half ago, our senior team decided we wanted to aim for a zero environmental footprint. This was an aspirational goal along, the lines of a moonshot. How do we do it? We had no clue. A year and a half later, we have learned so much, and we needed to take the time to learn. You don't start a big effort like this by saying, oh, in 2018 we're going to be at X, Y, and Z. You don't even know what you're talking about yet when you're taking on a big challenge. So zero environmental footprint has pushed us in a number of ways. Obviously, I've talked about some of the ways in which it's challenging us around our buildings. It is also challenging us around our fleet. We manage over 200,000 vehicles. We have policies for almost 400,000. And recently, it was really a cool day, I got to announce to the press that we've acquired 116 electric cars. And importantly, we put infrastructure in our federal buildings where they can charge those cars, so that we have sort of the whole system, both the cars and the charging stations. This is going to give us a lot of information and awareness and understanding about new technologies in vehicles, and help us, I think, move the government quickly and promptly towards better solutions in fleet management. But this is the kind of example of what we didn't know 18 months ago and what we now know. The world of e-waste. And I want to talk about this with you very explicitly, since you are the IT community. The government sheds approximately 10,000 computers a week. And that is just computers. I came to this conference with 5 pieces of technology, and I'm certainly not going to be keeping them for a decade or two. They are going to be going into the stream of the waste stream pretty quickly. And this is a huge problem. It's one thing to try to get the government to buy and direct itself towards new technologies. It's another for this community to think about closing the loop and understanding what is happening at the other end of the cycle. We have been taking leadership in this issue. We issued some strong recommendations that we are making concerning how our consumption carries through the waste stream. There are 2 recycling standards that we have pointed to. It is a world of issues that is evolving quickly. It involves international trade agreements. Much of this e-waste goes overseas. This is a knotty, big, wicked problem, and we need to take off our sunglasses and understand what the glare is all about. So I want to bring this up because it is the kind of way our innovation and our pushing hard on the green agenda is surfacing very important work that we cannot dismiss or avoid. E-waste is with us, and it is serious. And when we think about all these young people coming into the workplace, think about the trail of e-waste they are going to be leaving by the ends of their careers. I think this is something we need to get in front of. Now, importantly, I am, and I confess, I'm as much of a tree hugger as is my daughter. I am serious personally about the environment. But ZEF, Zero Environmental Footprint, is not just about the environment. It is about management. It is about how you change an organization, because if embraced, It is a principle of no waste. And isn't that what the Congress wants? Isn't that what our Inspectors General want? Isn't this what we are all after? To use our resources the best way possible and waste none of them. I believe the sustainability agenda can genuinely transform government. And it is by opening this issue up and exploring it and figuring out what it means, understanding the really serious issues of the supply chain, the really complex data issues of tracking where things are and where they're going, the difficult business issues of how do you control the flow of a product when you only own it for a portion of its cycle. We've been talking to Walmart, Home Depot, and other large-scaled organizations who are also struggling with this issue. This is about management. It is about leading organizations well, and I invite you to embrace the environmental agenda for that reason. It is not one-dimensional. All right, enough on that. The next world in which GSA goes first is something that we tagline open government. Our Office of Citizen Services and Innovative Technologies is our leader on this, and they have done a tremendous and heroic job of pushing this boulder up the mountain. There are three portions to open government, as you know from the President's executive order: transparency, participation, collaboration. I'm sure these visit your dreams. This is what we all are working so hard to have embedded into how our government works. And we have, I think, jumped on this agenda aggressively and have some interesting stories to tell. First, in transparency, as you well know, we are diligent about creating and expanding that great bulletin board in the sky where we're posting data. You know, data.gov, gobierno.gov, usa.gov, performance.gov. It's a wave of work that we're all participating in which we're posting data so that citizens can see into their government and government can see into government. If anything, this data is helping each of us help other parts of the government be more effective. So the bulletin board in the sky is a big piece of work on the part of GSA, and it's one that's teaching us a lot and expanding on a daily basis. The next portion of the open government agenda is participation. And I love this stuff. I think the notion that we can find ways of asking the crowds to brainstorm, to participate, to comment, to clarify, to bring their ideas to the fore is fabulous. It is just fabulous to be reaching out because you never know what's out there. And if you were trying to maintain it in some sort of database so that you would know precisely where to go with a question, we would be collapsing under our own weight. But instead, we have mechanisms. We have been posting mechanisms, and we've been helping other agencies with the legality and the techniques and the choices of what kinds of social media can and should you be using to address these kinds of problems of participation. And, you know, it was interesting last night hearing all of that comment about blogging and so on. I have to go back and think about my blog and whether anybody reads it. But we are, I believe, both modeling as well as trying to enable the rest of the government how to do this kind of transparent participation. But the real challenge in front of us is not just getting everybody involved, but solving some problems. We need to solve problems, and that is the collaboration challenge. I don't think we're on top of this one yet. I don't think we have begun to understand what it takes to genuinely collect the wisdom of the crowds and figure out how to solve problems. There are a lot of very interesting experiments, and I think we're edging our way forward. We're right on the edge of figuring a lot out about this technique. But it is about bringing people together so that they can solve problems, not just talk with each other. And one of the really exciting examples of this, of course, is our challenge.gov. We just celebrated our one-year anniversary with challenge.gov, and I think we're close to 100 challenges up there. The government now has authority to pay out prizes, although sometimes those prizes inside GSA are things like lunch with Martha. But, you know, we can actually pay some real money, too. And the whole notion that we can challenge, put our problems up in a way that we can invite competition and the best of ideas and then reward them. Tremendous, tremendous advances in how this government can move its agenda, its innovation agenda. And we are in the thick of it, and we are learning, and we are hoping that we are shedding our experiences quickly so that you can also pick them up, and we're happy to share yours as well. We feel we're sort of a nexus of the activity around open government. Finally, we go first on management innovation. We feel very strongly that we need to try things so that you can see and know and have some ideas. I know across government there are very serious managers and leaders who are trying also to figure out how do we move the culture of government? How do we embrace all of this change that's going on and catch up to it? And there are a lot of good ideas, and we feel that we need to be as aggressive as possible in putting our ideas out there for you to build on as well. I think about this from the point of view of the fact that we have organizations that are heavily complex and hard to understand, but they are hierarchical. That's kind of the way we're set up. And we, at the same time, and because of your work, are completely upending these complex organizations because they have relied on being able to hoard information, and now information is available to everyone. So we are structured in hierarchies that are very complex and very laden with history, and we are engaged in a flattening and a sharing and a crowd sort of organizational structure that is really baffling and bumping up against this. I believe there is no real way to solve this. There's no one answer way to solve this problem. There is instead, as leadership, the option of having many different angles at it. I call it, we need to interrupt rather than disrupt our organizations. If you try to disrupt an organization with a big change effort, all you're going to get is blowback and a lot of time with your lawyers. And it just is not productive. Instead, we need to interrupt, take the whole system and ping it in a number of different places. If your strategy is right and you're sort of unfreezing the organization because you're pinging it on many fronts, it will start to unfreeze and move where you need it to move. You have to trust your organization to do that. I believe this deeply. And so at GSA, we are all about trying many different things to see what works and how it can kind of help the organization see itself, interrupt it a little bit, doesn't have to be too embarrassed, it can kind of try things out and move along the continuum of change going forward. And we've done a lot of things, and half of them sound very corny, and half of them are things that you probably have done, but I encourage you to embrace these as part of your change agenda and be aggressive about it. For example, we've done field trips. There is nothing that changes an organization more than a field trip. Take them to see the possibility. We did this on ZEF. The leadership team went to see a zero-footprint company, and in 2 days, the entire leadership understood what we were trying to do. Our FAST organization took its leadership to Disney so that we could understand the best of customer service. This is pretty straightforward. This is right out of the management books, but it is a real way in which you can begin to move everyone. We also have engaged in what we call slams. You've heard about these, I'm sure, because people are very intrigued by the fact that I call them slams, S-L-A-M-S. It doesn't mean anything. It just means I want to slam everyone in a room and lock the door until the problem is solved. And it's a very simple technique. We can now do more of that online, but the notion is put everybody together and solve a problem, get that rock out of the river and start moving. And so slams are another technique that we've used, and if you use them carefully, you can really begin to uncover what you need to change, and you can get everybody involved in it. I also believe that we need to change our performance management system, and one way we can do it is borrow the lessons of open government. We need our performance management system to be more transparent. It is simply not transparent to write a performance plan that's 30 pages long, single-spaced, font 10, and put it in a drawer. Nobody knows what you're doing. And so I personally feel that it's important to put up what our intentions are around performance in a very accessible way, and I am getting close to comic strips. This is one of my 5 what I call placemats. And it is a statement about what I believe my work should be. And I put it in one sentence, which if you look at carefully, you can read. I, Martha Johnson, will assure that enough transformation happens by September 30th so that GSA loves its change culture, which I will verify to be valuable by, and there is a list of measures. If you cannot put your goals like this on a placemat, you're really getting a little bit too muddy and nobody would know how to follow you anyway. The other thing about this is you can post it, and guess what? People actually want to kind of read it and sort of think about it, and they want to ask you questions about it. They actually want to talk to you about your performance plan. So I believe that things like transparency need to be embedded into our cultures in very simple little ways that can model that it's okay to move ahead and to take risks, and it will be okay. Nothing is going to be earth-shattering, but the whole system of changes will add together to taking the workplace forward. And so we are all about trying things and minimizing risk, managing risk, and learning to stick our necks out appropriately. I am grateful for your attention to our story at GSA about innovation and orchestration. This is a tough time for government. It's a tough time for industry. We're in this together, and I invite you to take the plunge with us. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope you enjoy your conference.
Martha, thank you so much for that wonderful talk. This conference is all about innovation, and that was excellent talk about how GSA is leading innovation across the government. We have a small gift.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here, really. Appreciate it.